Really, here's the hook. Okay, so this is my Billy of the Week. We used to have a Billy of the Week theme song. I don't know if we still have it. We should dig one up or get AI to make a Billy of the Week jingle for us.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
$1 billion.
Okay, so let me tell you how I got hooked on this. I read this story in the information, and I don't really read the information normally. In fact, I don't pay for the information, but like it gives you the preview and then it starts to fade.
You're saying, by the way, theinformation.com. Yeah, and it fades and it totally gets you hooked.
It gets me hooked, but I'm reading the fading part, and as it's fading away, there's a line that just caught my attention. It's like, residents of this small town in Idaho were complaining because suddenly dozens of private jets were suddenly flying into this private airport, and basically armored vehicles were showing up, and they're wondering what is going on. They called the mayor and they're like, did something happen? And they're like, oh, it's just Thomas Tull.
Who's that?
Exactly, who's that? And then it faded out, and I was like, oh, I have to ask my friend who's got an information account to bootleg me a copy of this story. And so he did. So this guy is, I think, kind of a legend. He is a stealthy billionaire. He starts off his career in laundromats. Shout out to Cody Sanchez. Then shifts to auto repair shops. Then shifts to buying small accounting practices and does basically a roll up and ends up with 500 worldwide locations for his accounting thing. And he put it all under one banner, like American Financial Services or some shit like that.
And no private equity background, just like a blue collar.
He had worked. He first was blue collar. Then at some point he gets, I don't know, he did have a stint in private equity. He learned a little bit about the private equity business, either as an internship or something else. But I'm pretty sure he quit college or just was moonlighting while he's at college doing the laundromat thing. Grows up, single mom, doesn't have a lot of money. So he's basically like, I need to fill a need. So he's like, okay, I'll start with laundromats. Okay, this is not a very good business, but gets me going. And the whole time he's kind of a data nerd. So even with the laundromat business, he starts buying these washing machines that can do surge pricing. So it's like when there's more demand, the cost goes up. He's like, why wouldn't it do that? All the rush comes in at one period of time. That's when I need to make money. And so, he's a little bit of a data nerd, and he ends up becoming famous because he takes that same data philosophy and he applies it to a business that never had it, which is the movie business. And so he does what's called Moneyball for movies. So the Moneyball strategy that was famous for in baseball, to find undervalued assets and to build a team, construct a team with sort of using data as an edge rather than these old school scouts that are spitting sunflower seeds and looking at a prospect and being like, I like his ass, he's got something. I always trust a guy with a big ass, it's like, what are you talking about? He's like, he gets on base a lot. They're like, no, he's too fat. He'll never make it. They're like, I don't know. It seems like he's
got some strong loins.
Yeah. Or it'd be like, he's got a strong jaw. Yeah, I think he's got star potential. It's like, okay, he'll be a leader in the clubhouse. All right, great. And so Moneyball was basically like, forget that side of things, the qualitative. Let's focus on the quantitative. So this guy does that for movies, and he creates Legendary Entertainment, which is the movie production company, the movie financing company that financed and produced movies like the Batman series, so The Dark Knight, all that stuff, Batman Begins, 300, The Hangover, on and on and on. Now, recently, Dune. And so he builds this thing up, sells it for $3.5 billion to the richest man in China. And this guy's just fascinating. So the whole journey from laundromats, auto repair shops, tax firms, then has a dinner with a guy who's I think he's a movie exec, and he's complaining about film financing. And he's like, how does it work there? And it was basically like the old, the baseball scouting thing. Like, oh, this actor, we like this plot, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, do you guys do any data analysis? And he realized they don't have the Moneyball side, but they also don't have just private equity. And he's like, the movie business is the largest industry that doesn't really have a private equity focused firm. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bring the capital. I'm not going to have the full production system. I'm not going to have the distribution rights. I'll just bring the capital. And so what he did was he partnered with Warner Brothers. So he to start this business, he raises $500 million, which he's like, this was the hardest thing I'd ever done, was raising $500 million for this thing.
Wow.
And he goes in and he partners with Warner Brothers. He cuts a deal. We're going to co-finance 30 movies with you. But here's the deal. We're going to basically build up a data team that's going to figure out which movies we should bet on and which ones we shouldn't. and more importantly, how we promote them. So I thought this was interesting because in most of the articles I read about this guy, they're just like, it's like the hand wavy thing. It's like, and then he started Legendary Entertainment and sells it for $4 billion. Like, what? How did this guy with no background in the movie business create this company? How did they produce these hits? And like, what was he doing differently? And do you know what he was doing differently?
No. Keep going.
So there was two or three insights. So the first insight he had was bigger is actually better. So there's this romantic idea in the movie business about like indie films and like, let's go back to quality, just like real, just genuine scripts and all this stuff. And he's like, most of the movies that fail are these like mid-market movies that kind of cost like a medium amount of money, but they don't have like guaranteed slam dunk. People will watch for this one reason. Like it's got this superhero, it's got this A-list actor, whatever. And he's like, they're making the plot too complicated that it only appeals to like an intellectual person. He's like, we need to have movies that have like commercial appeal. It should still be elevated, like he did Inception and he did The Dark Knight. Like, they're still great movies, but like Dark Knight is still like Batman, and Inception still has Leonardo DiCaprio, right? So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna have some things that I could take to the bank to actually underwrite these films better. So that was the first thing. Was like, I need to go for bigger budget films that have like a headline reason that people will have to go and pay for to go watch this movie. So he leaned heavily into IP, so like licensed IP. He also leaned heavily into like mainstream actors and directors.
And he did a ton of great stuff. Straight Outta Compton, but with Dune 1 and 2, Inception, The Hangover, which was huge, Watchmen, right. Dark Knight. Just
and by the way,
great movies.
Still a hard business. I think they've only ever had 2 consecutive years of profitability or something like that. Like in the like 10-year run. It's not like every year, just year after year, they're having bangers, but the movie business, it's a hit business. So when they hit really big in those years that they hit. And in other years, they might lose $50 or $100 million. But then when they hit $500 million or $1 billion of net gain. And so, anyway, it sells the business.
One of his first movies was Beer Fest. You're telling me that wasn't a hit?
Yeah. So, the big thing was they found Christopher Nolan pretty early. Like, he turned out to be like one of the best directors, period. And like, he was kind of unproven at the time. So, it's not all easy. The second thing he did though was he's like, China. How do we make movies that have international appeal, specifically appeal in China? And he's like, China's a big market and there's like a lot of demand. There's not a lot of supply of American films that can cross over. And so he's like, we're going to be international and that's going to be one of our edges. So he's like, all right, I need a simple-minded plot. So I need it could be well done, but the plot needs to be simple. Good guy, bad guy, right? He's like, for most of these, I need something that will transfer into China past the language barrier and just have like simple appeal, like Batman has simple appeal. And then he partnered with a Chinese company, did a joint venture with China Film, which is like a government-owned public state company for films. And he's like, we're going to bring the movies and we'll do a 50-50 JV with you over there. And so he cuts the right deal there and has the right distribution there then. So that was the second good thing he did. The third is the data analysis, the Moneyball side of things. So I didn't fully realize this, but in both video games and movies, you might, if it says like, this movie had a $200 million budget, that's the amount they might have spent on making the film. But then guess how much they'll spend on marketing the film?
I have no idea. Another 30% more?
Another 100% more or 150% more. So if they spend 150 million on the movie, they'll spend another 150 million or 200 million on the marketing of the movie.
So each movie is like a meaningful size company that lasts for 3 years.
Well, sometimes longer, right? If it gets syndicated, if it has like long term, like it's
good. But I mean, the actual work, the work of making it and then marketing. I mean, it's like a presidential election.
Same thing with Grand Theft Auto. They'll spend like $500 million marketing Grand Theft Auto.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
Right? Like the big video games, the AAA like video games, they'll spend hundreds of millions on their marketing. So they'll usually like double the amount they spent on making the thing. And so, what else spends that much money on marketing? Every D2C brand. And what he realized, in the same way that like what D2C brands did, was they took the Moneyball approach and said, if Procter & Gamble's just like doing these like random, like just sponsor the Super Bowl and like, let's just take Tide or let's take, whatever, Old Spice, and we'll just run funny TV commercials. And like, is it working? I don't know, right? The old adage with TV commercials was half my budget does nothing and half performs. Problem is I don't know which half. And, that's how brand advertising worked. And then what happened is that guys like Moyes came in and built native deodorant, and they're like, fuck the Old Spice model. I don't have enough money to do TV anyways. I have to do the Moneyball approach. I need performance marketing where I can measure every dollar and attribute every single purchase to which ad I ran and how much I spent on that ad. And that will tell me if I should do more of that ad or less of that ad or tweak it. And then that's how he builds, a really fast growing deodorant company on the back of Facebook. And so what Thomas did was the same thing with movie marketing.
What's a direct response version for a movie?
That's what these guys do. They run Facebook ads. They run YouTube ads. They run
to buy a ticket to the movie.
To get you to not exactly like go online and buy the ticket right away, but to get you to be like, oh yeah, I heard that movie's coming out. Oh, it looked good. So they'll do shit. Here, let me just tell you some of the shit that they do. So I thought this was pretty cool. They'll take trailers. So they're like, the trailer is the ad creative, right? The trailer is the thing that needs to get you to say, oh, I want to see that. That movie looks really good. And so they'll do like A/B tests. They'll do like 50 versions of a trailer, and they'll take an audience of, they'll take 100 people, they'll put them in a movie theater, they'll play the trailer, and they have a scanner on the seat in front of you that'll take like a facial biometric reading of you, and they have you wearing a heart rate monitor, and they're trying to see, like in a movie or a trailer or whatever, like they're trying to see, like, do you react, and what part do you react to? Does your heart rate elevate? Does it quicken? Now, I don't know if this is just PR because the guy who was talking about this was their head of analytics, and they basically poached this guy. So there's some guy he built a sports analytics company in the Moneyball era, sold it, and then he gets a call from Thomas and says, hey, do you want to do Moneyball for movies? He's like, I'm in. And so he became the head of analytics, and he's like, we have a 50-person applied analytics team, like applied sciences team. He goes, that's 49 more than every other movie producer. he's like, we have like 50 engineers, data scientists, like all of these people are like hardcore data, computer science, engineering type folks. And he's like, nobody else even has this department. He's like, or at least they didn't when we started.
Do you think they make movies like, how sometimes when we create content, we think headline first or thumbnail first or whatever. Do you think they think of the trailer as what's a good movie that could be an awesome trailer?
I think 100% they do. In fact, one of the films that flopped was this thing called The Great Wall or something like that. I don't know. I never saw it, but it's like they did the joint venture with the Chinese company, and they're like, oh, let's make a American movie, but it's about the Great Wall. It's like, imagine if the Great Wall was actually built to keep aliens out, and that's what they discovered the purpose was, something like that. Matt Damon's in it, and movie flops. China didn't love it. America didn't love it. It was like kind of neither. They tried to make something for everybody. It didn't work. It was something for nobody. And what the analytics guy is like going to die on this hill. He's like, I don't know, man. The data showed that Matt Damon was, he's like, we were under indexed on Matt Damon in China. I was like, I don't even know what that means, but he's basically like, the price for Matt Damon versus the cachet Matt Damon has with that audience, it was a good trade. And he's like, nah, it was a good trade. And people are like, the movie flopped, dude. He's like, all right, but that was right. That one part was right. Which
that's insane. And so why is he showing up to Idaho with armored vehicles?
So now he's shifted so he sells Legendary to the richest man in China. And then he still owns, I think, like 10 or 20%. But like, you can't own 10 or 20% of a Chinese company as an American. Like that's a big Chinese company. And so they give him like phantom stock. So he gets like only a profit share. He can't like own any equity in the thing. But now what he does is he took that money and he's investing heavily in defense tech. So he invested in Anduril. He invested in some Shield AI, like a bunch of defense tech. So that meeting was basically a meeting of the minds of entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley who are building defense tech, people from Washington who are like, the lobbyists, the people that they lobby, whoever the senators, congressmen, whoever those people are, and the generals and the defense contractor, like a meeting of the minds of all those people. And they were just like, probably getting together and be like, China, we gotta stop these guys, like, and basically he's got this flywheel, right? Because the flywheel is so amazing. The flywheel is, you start a defense company, you then lobby for increased defense spending. So they increase defense spending, which goes to your companies, right? And so like that flywheel of like wining and dining Washington while then funding the companies that will win the contracts is just a very, very lucrative model. I'm not saying he's doing it in any malicious or nefarious way. No, I don't mean that at all. I just mean it's interesting how that can work, right? It's smart if that's your model, which is you can actually influence the spend through PR, through whatnot. So you'll see like a guy like Joe Lonsdale, and I think he believes this, by the way. He's got defense tech companies, right? He started Palantir, He also started a company called Epirus. He's starting some underwater drone company. Like he's starting a bunch of deep tech, defense tech companies. But then he also spends a lot of time building relationships with, public officials and those folks. And he'll go on CNBC and he'll be like, we got to stop TikTok. And like, I don't think he's doing it, just for his dollar. I don't think that's why he's doing it. I think he's doing them all from a sense of purpose. Like he genuinely thinks that we shouldn't have TikTok kind of brainwashing the American population while being owned or controlled or the data siphoned off to, the CCP. So like, I think he genuinely believes that, but it also happens to be a very strong flywheel where if you could shift the public perception or the government's perception to increase the funding in this, that will also benefit the companies that you started to serve that need.
Dude, and Thomas Tull looks like a movie villain. If you Google and look at photos of him.
He has a cameo in Batman. He is actually like in the owner's box. You know that scene where Bane like blows up the football stadium? He's because he owns a piece of the Pittsburgh Steelers too. So the team playing in the movie is the Steelers. He's in the owner's box. He is a partial owner, and he gives himself a little cameo.
This guy looks like a Steeler. He's huge. He's like a big guy.
He was a former college football player, I think.
This guy's impressive.
Let me tell you a couple other random things. One, he's like, I don't live in LA. So he built a Hollywood company without living in LA. He said he said he had a great line. He's like, I just want to make great movies that people love. I don't want to figure out, he's like, I don't want to make sure I have a dinner table at Spago tonight. Like, he's like, I don't want the Hollywood status stuff. Like, I just want to make great movies. And so that's why I don't live there. I just do my thing from far away.
Where's he based? Is it Pittsburgh? Is he based?
I'm not sure. So at one point he bought like 150 acres of farmland and was like, I'm going to live off this land. He's like, and what he did was he's like, I want to use this to learn all of the advanced farming robotics companies. And we'll use this land to try those. And he's like, I want to learn the tech and try to see if are we building the future of food. And I want to be living in a self-sustainable way. And like, I'm going to try that for a period. I don't know how long he lives there or if he does it full time, but this guy's pretty fascinating, man. He, I don't know. He's just done a lot of things in a lot of different places. And the through line for all of it was this like Moneyball for X, which I thought was pretty fascinating.
Great find. That was really good. This guy's so fascinating. We should get this guy on. Does he do interviews or is he really private? He's pretty
stealthy, but he went on Lex and he also went on Farnham Street back in the day. And so I'd love to have him on to talk because you could tell he's like he's a business guy. And he's very like practical. Like he's just, I don't know. He comes across very real. I watched some of his interviews. He comes across very, very real, very straightforward. He's like, well, I just thought, I just thought X, like, and he's like, that's it. Like, and then I just did it. And he's like, well, for example, he invested in some company doing gene tech editing. And these guys like are trying to bring back the woolly mammoth. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. I've read about it in headlines.
Their stated mission is to bring back the woolly mammoth. But I loved how he talked about him because it was very real. And he was like,
which company? What's that called?
I don't remember their name. Like Colossus, I think. Colossal or Colossus, something like that.
Okay.
And so he's like, they're like, you invested in this company that's bringing back the woolly mammoth, right? It's like a very buzzy thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, I thought they were doing really interesting things with like studying, the genome and gene editing, CRISPR. He's like, I think the woolly mammoth thing makes for great PR. Like, he's like, he was basically just like, I don't give a shit about bringing back the woolly mammoth. I'm not doing this as some like weird billionaire, like fetish thing that billionaires do. And they're just like, oh, I need to resurrect, I need to summon a god. He's like, the woolly mammoth thing is interesting, but it's like a headline. He's like, what I like is that he's like, I met these guys and they're really smart scientists. And I just thought these guys are so smart. I need to be around them and they're going to do really interesting things. So I'll back them. And if they want to work on this woolly mammoth thing, okay, great. He's like, but I just think the science they're doing is really fascinating. And he goes, also, I like their ethics because he goes like, the more I met with them, it was clear that okay, these guys are in the top 0.1% of intelligence, but there's people like that in China and all around the world. He's like, but they don't all have the same ethical code that these guys do. Where like they're going to use this for good, and they're not just going to like be cloning random shit or editing things like in a pretty reckless way. And he's like, so I just thought it was good. These guys needed the backing because like I fuck with their moral code basically. And so I don't know. I like this guy.
I always find it almost romantic, but like very intoxicating when I read about people who don't have a ton of education, but dominate a certain area. So for him, the fact that I don't know entirely what his background is, so I could be off here, but it seems like he's sort of a blue collar guy who kind of kicked ass at finance and deal making, but he doesn't have that traditional New York City, big bank background.
He didn't buy auto repair shops because he's like, oh, I can do a PE roll up and get leverage and raise prices. And he was just like, he's like, well, I live in Pittsburgh and I lived in a part of Pittsburgh that didn't have a lot of money. People aren't buying new cars. So it's like, you got a car. If your car breaks, you can't really buy a new car. So the auto shops were a good bet because they were going to try to fix it. It's like, if I can get like another year out of this beater, I'm going to do it. So he's like, I just realized like auto repair is going to like be a thing here because that's what the community needs. That's how we discovered the defense tech stuff. So he was like, he was doing movies and he's like, oh dude, I want the fight scenes and the military scenes to be realistic. So he's like, let's bring in advisors from the actual military to tell us like, what is the weaponry? What would be cool? What would be the cutting edge stuff that if we put in the movie that would be interesting? And he's talking to them and he's kind of like, damn, they really don't have like as much cutting edge tech as I thought. Like the Navy and the Marines, like they kind of wish that they could do X, Y, Z, but they couldn't. And that's when he started funding more defense tech. He's like, it sounds like there's actually just a need for this. And so like, obviously you don't know how much of this is like reverse PR where you go back and you make up a nice wholesome sounding story, but I don't know. I bought it, which I usually am pretty skeptical about this stuff, but I bought it here.
I also like people, and this is really easy to read about and to think about, but basically, all right, so you explain his idea. I'm going to do Moneyball for movies. And you think about it and you go, okay, cool. I guess that makes sense. Even at the time, you could be like, that's neat. That's interesting. But to have the courage and confidence to believe that you are right, even though you don't really know too much about something, you're a total outsider, to have the courage to do it and to go that big, I find incredibly intoxicating and inspirational because how many people do you think have told him, like, you have no idea about this industry. We've done it this way for 100 years. What are you talking about? That's not how it's done. But just to be like, look, it makes sense that it's this, this, and this, and this. Like Warren Buffett has that. A lot of anyone who's great typically has that, where it's like they believe in their own logic and their own reasoning, and they believe that their decision is the right decision, even though most everyone is like, that's insane. I have so much love for people who are that courageous and confident in their own decisions. I think that's very admirable.
Yeah, conviction is attractive. One of the things that they talked about with the Moneyball thing, it's like, cool, like you can have an analogy like Moneyball for movies. And then you sit down and you're like, cool, so what are we going to Moneyball? Like in sports, all of the data is public. It's all there. Everyone's stats are there. Everything is filmed on TV. So even if you didn't have a stat, you could go back and create it. Like, what are you going to do for the movies? It's like not the same thing. And so what are you actually going to do? And so one of the things they did, they were like, the analytics guy had a great statement. He goes, I take this population of people. He's like, on the left side of the bell curve, there's people who are never going to watch the movie no matter what we do. We don't want to spend $1 marketing to them. That's my goal with that population is don't spend $1 on one impression for those people who are never going to watch. He's like, then you have the people that are going to watch no matter what. I also don't want to spend $1 on them. Like they are Dune fanatics. They got a Dune poster in their bedroom. They grew up watching reading the books. They're going to watch Dune no matter what I do. So then there's the people in the middle. And the people in the middle, they're like our swing voters. And they might watch it. And I need to figure out, then I start slicing and dicing that audience. And I figure out this mom is going to watch because she loves that actor. And this guy's going to watch because he loves a badass action scene. So we need 2 different trailers that we're going to run in social ads at each of those. He's like, and then we need a data set that tells us who actually goes to the movies. And like basically need a map between the email addresses that we're advertising to and the email addresses that are used to buy tickets. And we need to create these clusters and try to figure out like what's actually converting.
Movie folks weren't doing this?
I guess not in a serious way. I don't know. Maybe there's other producers that are like, like kicking the wall right now being like, God damn it, we all do this. Like, that's not special. I don't know. I don't know the business well enough. These guys told the story better than anybody else. So, it seems to have worked.
This is awesome.
I mean, the track record's also there too, right? Like they built a really big thing in a really small amount of time coming in as a complete outsider. So, that's pretty impressive.
This guy's fascinating. I want to learn more about this guy. Yeah, he's cool.
One other point on this. It's interesting to think about where else Moneyball for X could be implemented. So I don't know if you've read about Obama's data team or
Trump's
I've
read about Trump's. I've read a lot about Trump's, and it is getting into election season coming up. And I hate it because I get so many texts and emails. I mean, they are intense about their marketing. And I know that Jared Kushner kind of hired a bunch of tech guys and they crushed it. But even before Trump, Obama raised something like $1.5 billion, and they spent most of that, I would imagine, on marketing. I mean, what the politicians do in basically a year and a half, it's pretty phenomenal in terms of like deploying money for marketing, and they're savage about it.
Dude, the presidential election is a marketing contest between 2 agencies, and they each get to pick their front man, and then they run a marketing blitz, and they spend $500 million to $1 billion marketing over the course
In
of
like 8 months. Yeah.
and like that's it. So it got the last two presidents elected was the Moneyball for X. They used it in politics. It helped the Red Sox win the World Series. Worked in baseball. It built tons of D2C brands. The Moneyball approach also is, in finance with all the quant funds or hedge funds that are using this, or Renaissance. So it's pretty interesting to see how you can use Moneyball in any industry that is still like not data first, so not data driven. And if you asked, how do you guys make decisions, and it's basically some version of gut, eyeball, taste. There's probably a Moneyball like variant there.
I know a guy who is doing it with HVAC. He has an HVAC business doing like $150 million a year in revenue, and he tells me constantly all the data stuff that they're doing. And he's like, people don't do this in our industry. No one is doing this. Where it's as simple as we're looking at the data of what can we send and how many emails can we send to get more Google reviews. But they just like change their data. It's like they're running it like a tech company a little bit, where they have a small data analytics team. And he says that very rarely is anyone else in the HVAC industry doing something like this.
Dude, Sam, I got to ask you. I already know the answer to this question, but I got to ask you. Did you watch UFC 300 on Saturday?
The full 5 hours or 6 hours. Yeah, I sat the whole time. It was amazing.
Did you make like a 7-layer nacho dip and just sit there for 7 hours watching it?
I watched the entire thing. I think it started at 6 o'clock and it ended at 1 o'clock my time.
So I want to talk about it because A, we're both UFC fans, and it was amazing. But B, there's actually a great business CEO lesson in it that I want to go to. But first, can we just explain for anybody what Max Holloway did? Because I think the Max Holloway thing alone, if you don't even watch the fights, you need to know that this happened.
Well, let's explain UFC 300. So UFC's been around since the 90s. They've done thousands of events, but the major events, they number them. UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This past weekend was UFC 300. Typically, what they do is a card has 5 main fights, and then before the 5 main fights, there's 10 prelims, which are no-name fights that are up-and-comers. This time, they had 15 fights, but all of them were famous, great people. And so it created like 5 hours of epic fight cards, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. And one of the fights was for a made-up title called the Bad Mother Effer belt, the BMF title. And it was BMF. 2 guys who are popular, but they're currently not at the tippy top of their thing. So one guy, this guy's name is Max Holloway, and he's fighting this guy, Justin Gaethje. And they're fighting, and Justin Gaethje is a big favorite coming into the fight. People think he's going to win. Max Holloway has kind of gotten, he's kind of looks like he's on the back end of his prime, or maybe on the decline a little bit. And so 2 things happen. One, Max Holloway starts to win. Okay, that itself was cool, remarkable, but nothing compared to what happened at the end. So the way a UFC fight works is 5 rounds, let's say. And basically what happens is, if you're winning, each round gets scored. If you're winning each of the rounds, you have it locked up. So what happens is, let's say you're winning 3 rounds to 2 or 4 rounds to 1. Your corner tells you, hey, you're way ahead. Just play it safe. Just the only way this other guy can win is if he knocks you out. Just play it smart, right? That's 9 times out of 10. However, this is fighting entertainment, and some fighters understand that and some fighters don't. Max Holloway understands that. So what he did was he wins all 5 rounds. So he's not even up 3-2 or 4-1. He wins all 5 rounds. And at the end of the 5th round, and he's basically broken this guy's nose. He's got this guy kind of battered and bruised. The only thing this one guy can do, and this guy's a power puncher, the only thing this guy can do is knock him out. Max Holloway decides in the last 10 seconds, where most guys kind of just circle around, raise their hands, try to tell the judges they won, he points to the middle of the ring. He points down and he's like, stand right here. Neither one of us backs down. And just let's swing as hard as we can and try to knock each other out for the last 10 seconds. Now, this sounds very savage. What this actually is incredibly courageous and brave and entertaining and reckless and stupid all at the same time, rolled into one. And they both start just swinging absolute haymakers at each other. And then he, in the last second of the fight, knocks the other guy out cold. I feel like I can't even do it justice. If you watch the fight, you already know what happened. If you don't watch the fight, you probably don't care about this. But it was remarkable to watch.
It was probably the best UFC moment I've ever seen. Maybe for sure top 3, probably number 1. And I would actually say it was one of the best moments in sports that I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, It was like, I felt so much adrenaline watching this. I was like, it was in the middle of the night. My baby was sleeping and I yelled like as loud as I could. I was in awe. It was so adrenaline inducing. It was amazing.
It would be like in basketball if LeBron James was about to win the NBA Finals, and normally they're just trying to hold the ball, stall, let the clock run out. And instead, he handed the ball to his opponent, said, "No, come here. You have the ball. Come to the middle of the court. Everybody get off the court one-on-one right now for the game, for the championship, for the glory." And then somehow also if he risked getting knocked out in the process. So pretty insane moment.
Mark Zuckerberg, by the way, was sitting ringside and every fighter would run up to him and start pointing at him and talking to him. It was awesome. It was so exciting.
By the way, don't you think that Zuck should lean in more to this? I feel like this is the best PR that Mark Zuckerberg's ever had. Yes. Is his own heel turn into becoming a fighter, being at the UFC ringside, hanging out there, and all the fighters really love it. We're going into the tough man sport, right? Basically.
And he looked cool. He had like a little afro and he had a white t-shirt on, like baggy white. He looked like a cool guy.
He did. Yeah. He has like the oversized tee now. He went on TikTok shops and bought like the oversized tee from some like 18-year-old who was doing a dance video.
And his wife looked cool too. It's called mob chic, what she was wearing. It was like all black. She looked cool. They both looked cool. Did you
Google that?
I Googled it. I read a Business Insider article. I learned that word, mob chic.
So you know what he should do, by the way? This is a little PR lesson for him. I think that he should create his own Zuckerberg bonus. So he should have the Zuck,
that's a great idea.
The Zuck 500, and he just gives 500,000 to whoever had the most badass performance. So it should have just been like Max Holloway. It's like whoever just really put it all on the line, win or lose, doesn't matter. Somebody who showed the most heart, like the underdog bonus. And because these guys don't get paid, and Zuck has all of the money. So if he just did that for every pay-per-view, I feel like that would be its own storyline. He'd get so much goodwill that you literally
like real gladiator stuff.
You couldn't buy it. Yeah. By the way, the singer Sia, she does this for Survivor. So the winner of Survivor wins $1 million, and Sia's a super fan of Survivor. And she just called into the reunion one time and was like, "Hey, I just love that guy. He didn't even come close to winning, but I want to give him 50 grand." And so it became the Sia bonus of like whoever won her heart gets like extra money at the end. It's pretty genius.
Dude, that's so funny. That's awesome. All right. And so Max knocks out the guy. What happens? What's the business angle here?
The press conference at the end is always entertaining. Dana White is a very unfiltered guy. Dana, please come on the pod. He goes on the press conference and somebody asked him, they were like, "Dana, on a night like this, UFC 300, you try to build a car, but after that, it's out of your hands. Then it's up to the fighters. And like, how happy are you that it just turned out that way? Like such a moment and such a great, great overall night." And Dana goes, "People ask me what I do for a living. He's like, I don't organize fights. I sell holy shit moments. And tonight I sold millions of holy shit moments." Basically, he's like, I sold a holy shit moment to millions of people. And I thought it's a great little lesson, which is, what are you really selling? What are you really selling in your business? Is he selling mixed martial arts contests? Is he selling an event? He says, "I'm selling holy shit moments." And I thought about this, and marketers for a long time have known this, which is there's levels to marketing. And I want to give you my 5 levels to marketing based on the Dana White principle of selling holy shit moments. Okay. You ready for this? Level 1, you sell a product. And this is every shitty startup website. You go to it and it just says, "We are a healthcare CRM using AI." They're just describing some product. And it's not compelling because I don't give a shit about your product. I give a shit about myself. And your product is some abstract, we're a blockchain-based, Web3 arcade side scroller. It's like, what? And if you go to most product websites, to be honest, they're just selling a product. That's level 1. This is what failing companies do. Okay. Level 2 is you don't sell a product, you sell a solution. And this is effective, but it's competitive. This is like Head and Shoulders. Head and Shoulders says, "Hey, are you tired of having that dandruff on your shoulder? Use Head and Shoulders. It gets rid of the dandruff." Okay. So selling a solution to a pain point. And this is where I would say, okay, if 50% of companies just do sell a product, another 45% are going to sell the solution to a pain point. Okay, now we get into the championship rounds where we're going to have more interesting ways of doing things. So the next one, level 3, you sell a lifestyle. This is Lululemon. This is Slack. So if you don't believe me, go read the Stuart Butterfield, who's the CEO of Slack. Go read his post called "We Don't Sell Saddles Here." And I'll spoil it for you, which is, he says, imagine you're a saddle company. You make saddles. We could just describe the product, the saddles. We could describe some solution like, oh, your butt won't be sore on our saddle. Or we could sell the lifestyle, the joy of horseback riding, and get people to want to be on horseback, to feel free, to have the wind blowing through their hair. You make that lifestyle aspirational. And then when they're like, oh, I got to do that, now they're super motivated and they say, well, what do I need? You're like, well, you need a saddle and ours are the best. And so he says that this is how the yoga companies, Lululemon and whatnot, this is how they got popular too, is they didn't say, here, we have the best yoga pants, which was a small market of people looking for yoga pants. They got people into the idea of doing yoga. And once you get into doing yoga and the benefits of yoga, you're going to want to invest in buying better gear as you go. And Lululemon will say, well, we have the best gear. And so this is how you create a category.
Or you just want to make your ass look dope.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
The lifestyle of being a big booty queen. And if that's a lifestyle you want to be a part of, then we are the pants for you.
Yeah.
The MFM merch store will soon have fat margin bottoms and the real bottom lines.
That's pretty good. All right. And 4 and 5.
4 is where I thought we stop. There's actually 5, but 4 is where I thought we stopped. This is the Dana White level. You sell a feeling. And I'll tell you that line that somebody told me once. I hired this consultant and I was talking about my content. I did the lamest thing. I hired a consultant for my personal brand just to know, what do these guys know? I didn't ever end up implementing really anything, but I did take away this one thing he said. He goes, you've worked with all the big names. You've worked with, whoever, I don't want to out him, I guess, but he's worked with a bunch of big names. I said, what do they do differently than what I'm doing? And he goes, you make content, they give out a feeling. I said, what? He goes, as any content creator, you are the merchant of feelings. If you give someone a feeling more consistently and more powerfully than anybody else, that's what makes you box office. And I was like, oh man, I love using the word box office. That's great. And this is what Dana White was saying, right? We sell holy shit moments. We give you that feeling that you can't really get anywhere else. Like, in your life, can you really get, like, there's a reason you love the UFC. My buddy Julian Shapiro loves the UFC like none other. Like, and he's like, I can't watch other sports. He's like, I can't watch TV or movies. UFC has ruined it for me.
Well, Dana White said something amazing. He goes, think about this. You're at the Super Bowl. It's the final down. It's the greatest moment in NFL history. And a fight breaks out a few rows down from you. What are you going to do? You're going to stop. You're going to stop watching football and you're going to go and pay attention to the fight. That's what people do. And that's the business that I'm in. That's why I knew this was going to be the greatest sport ever.
Exactly. And so the greatest brands, let's say Disney. Disney's amazing at this. Disney doesn't say, come to our theme park. We have the fastest rides or we have the shortest lines. No, they tell you about the magical family experience, right? This is going to be a lifetime memory for you. This is going to give your kids a magical feeling, a magical moment. All of their movies are the same way, right? You watch a Pixar movie because it's going to give you this feel-good moment, right? They give you feel-good moments more consistently than anybody else. So the best brands do this. Louis Vuitton gives you a feeling of status, of importance. UFC gives you the holy shit feeling. Nike gives you a feeling that, of the feeling of greatness. When they advertise their shoes, they don't advertise the rubber shoes. They basically show you someone striving for greatness, and it's that inspiration, that motivation that they sell. Okay, so now level 5. Level 5, I realized, is the highest one. You didn't sell a product. You didn't sell a solution. You didn't sell a lifestyle. You didn't sell a feeling. You sell an identity. And this is what the religions do. This is what political parties do. They basically give you a tribe. They give you a label. They give you a purpose. They give you a sense of belonging. It's almost like buying a Subway franchise. They're like, here, wear this uniform, put this logo up. Here's the packaging. Here's a portrait of bread. Put that on your wall. You now have an identity. We gave you a brand for you to have because you didn't have one on your own. We gave you a purpose. We gave you something to do. It's an identity in a box. And I think that is the highest level of what you can do is you sell an identity to people.
First of all, very good. This was a really good monologue. You tied in some of my favorite stuff. Congratulations. Second of all, were you just watching the UFC, taking notes on this stuff and just like,
no, I heard him say that. I heard him say that in the press conference, and I go, that's exactly what he does. That's why I watch. because I can't get that holy shit feeling from anything. What else is as real as that? And once you know the stories of the fighters, right? That's really what works, right? If you're personally invested and you understand the stakes, you understand what's in it for each guy. There's like, it's pretty hard to compare that to really any other sport. Maybe boxing is the other one.
No, boxing doesn't even come close to what these guys do. Like they're in a league of their own in terms of giving me a feeling. Like I wore a heart rate monitor one time to see what would happen because I noticed going into the fight I was so anxious because I was so emotionally invested. My heart rate went up like 20 beats per minute like before this fight. Like it was insane. I get so into this that I find myself like tired the next day. It's one of the very few times that I felt this in sports. It's the best. I feel it a little bit in the Olympics because I get into that. But no, I mean, what he has done and what the UFC has done in terms of, what did you say, selling emotions, it's the best.
I mean, if you go look at the old cigarette ads, if you want to see this. So if you go look at an old cigarette ad, they're obviously not selling the product. They're not selling a solution to a pain point. They're not saying, hey, your lungs need a little more tar in them. Like they're not doing that. It's all about a feeling and an identity, right? So they're giving you a feeling of greater, self-importance, a cool self-image, right? So all of the marketing around cigarettes was a cool self-image. It's a cool guy, and in his cool moment, he takes out the cig and he lights it up, or the woman doing the same thing. Go watch the Dos Equis commercial, right? The most interesting man in the world, sitting in a bar, surrounded by women, but not paying them any attention, looking at you dead in the camera, making eye contact. He's a man's man. He's done this, he's done that, he's done this. And when he drinks beer, he drinks Dos Equis, right? They're trying to give you a cool self-image. That's what a lot of luxury products and a lot of commodity products have to do. And so once you realize that, you're like, oh, and I love this because in our world, the tech world, the business world, most people are like absolute beginner, rookie white belts at real marketing. And like even the best in class is just saying, sell a solution to a pain point, sell the benefit, not the feature. And that's like level 2. And they just stop there. Nobody really goes beyond that. And so I like taking what is the best in class look like when it comes to like, marketing and brand and actually doing something that gets people to move and take action. And how do I bring that into our world? Because then you're, you have an unfair advantage.
And it's not always around violence. So if you're listening to this and you don't know anything about the UFC, go to YouTube and type in UFC Rose, I'm the best. One of the best moments from UFC is also this young woman named Rose Namajunas. And she's about to fight and she clearly is scared. And you see her mouthing to herself, I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. And I remember distinctly where I was.
She looks like your little sister. And the person across the way from her looks like the Terminator. And so you could just put yourself in that person's shoes. Oh man, they're about to fight somebody who's clearly just bigger, stronger, faster, everything. And she's mouthing to herself, I'm the best, to kind of like, it's like she's walking into the lion's den and she's got to believe this. Otherwise she doesn't stand a chance.
And she knocks her out. She knocks her out in the first round or something like that. And it was another great sporting moment.
Holy shit
so
moment.
The two other moments, first of all, there was 2 Chinese women fighting, which is the first time it's ever happened for the championship. And one of the ladies chokes out another woman and she goes unconscious right when the bell rings. So they're able to keep fighting. She doesn't really wake up until she gets punched again on the second round, which was like just epic. And then the third thing that happened was in the last fight, Alex Pereira gets kicked in the groin. The ref goes to stop it. He waves him off. And then 10 seconds later, knocks out the other guy. It was just full of badass moments where this whole thing, it was epic. It was an epic event.
And by the way, to just tie this principle back, by the way, I did this with the podcast. So I was like, what are we really selling here on the podcast? Is it ideas? Do people show up because they want a business idea? That's kind of lame. Like, sure, it's fun to hear ideas, fun to talk about ideas. But if you're really like, you know what? To be successful, I'm going to go to this YouTube channel and find a business idea that these random guys are going to say out loud. Like, honestly, that's a bad plan. Like, it might happen, but don't do it for that reason. And the same reason, like, we might talk about the UFC or something else. Like, that's probably not the most effective thing for you to do every day. So it's not our product. It's not a pain point. So one thing that I figured out was like, when I talked to a bunch of people and I tweeted this out, I go, what is something you remember? And what's the reason you actually listen to the pod regularly? Like what keeps you hooked? And the number one word that kept coming up was, oh man, I feel so inspired after I listen. And they're like, not in a cheesy way, but they're like, literally, if I'm driving and I'm listening, I sometimes will pull over because I got to write something down, right? You guys said one phrase that really stuck with me. And I was like, oh, that's going to be an unlock for me, either personally or in my marketing or whatever. Or it's, I heard about this idea. I'm not going to go do that idea, but I'm inspired by that idea. Or you tell the story of some Billy of the Week, some guy who's really crushed it, or some business that's under the radar that's crushing it. And all of a sudden, I feel like, success is abundant. I'm inspired to go make my shit happen. I'm not going to do what they did, but I'm going to go make my shit happen. And so we sell inspiration. That's the first thing. We actually sell one secondary thing, which is, have you ever seen that meme of the kid eating cereal next to his TV box? And it's like there's three friends on the TV box, and he's just like cozied up next to it. It's like me and my 4 friends, but it's just like,
oh, that's awesome.
The other one's a photo.
Yeah.
And it's basically like companionship. And people have posted before, like, this is me when I listen to podcasts. It's like kind of like you're hanging out with your friends, except for they're not there. But it feels that way. And so that's the other thing is like, for a lot of people who listen, what I learned was that even more than the inspiration, the ones that are super sticky, it's companionship. It's basically my real life friends aren't as nerdy about business as I am, or I live in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, or I'm in Belize, or I'm in, wherever. And I don't know 6 other people that I can hang out with twice a week and just nerd out about business with. And so you guys are basically my substitute for what I don't have or don't have the time for in my day-to-day life.
This was an A+ segment. Good job.
All right.
I dig that. Let me tell you let me tell you about something. So I launched something a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and I think there's only a 30% chance of it working, but I thought I could like reveal some of the numbers behind it. So I launched this thing called Sam's List. It's samslist.co. Did you see when I shared that online the other day?
Yeah, I did.
All right. So let me explain the background. So I was at the airport in January, and I had just gotten an email from my accountant, and it pissed me off that they didn't catch an error that I thought they should have caught. And so I tweeted out, who has an accountant that they love? I got about 300 responses. And I noticed that tons of people were bookmarking that tweet as if they're going to come back and hire an accountant, which was on the tweet. And so I thought, I think I could make a thing out of this. And so I hired a developer who works on Bubble. Do you know what Bubble is? Have you ever used Bubble?
Yeah, the website builder.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's like a whole app builder. And so we built this website where it was basically, I wanted to create like Yelp for accountants. Like a place where you can identify an accountant that's good based off of your friends. And I thought like this could be a good idea because when you hire an accountant, you don't really have a place to see reviews. You mostly hear about an accountant through word of mouth. And if you hire the wrong accountant, it's basically like a year that you have to stay with them before you find out that they kind of stink. So I was like, all right, I'm going to create this thing called Sam's List. We're going to build this out. It's going to be awesome. I spent about $15,000 to build it out. And so here's what I did. I got 300 replies to that tweet. I called all of them. So I got most of them on the phone or some of them via email. And I asked them all types of questions. I asked them, how much do they charge? Who the perfect client is? Who's the not perfect client? What services are their specialties? Things like that, as if I was going to hire them. I think you had told me one time when you went to hire an accountant, you created like your own data room and you like sent it to people and you're like, who can handle this best? Well, I kind of did like a thing like that. I put them all on this website on Sam's List. And it took me a few weeks to get it going. And then I shared it. And I want this thing to work. I don't think it's going to.
Why are you saying that? Is that like some weird, humble, like,
no.
Are you just doing some reverse thing where it's like, if only the community would rally and what are you doing here? Is this reverse psychology?
It's not reverse psychology. I'll explain why this will be hard to work. And so here was my math. My math was basically, if I can get 500,000 people a month to come to this website, 3% of them would would contact an accountant. Somehow I could charge the accountants $100 per person I sent to them, per lead that I sent to them. And if that were the case, that would be something like $1.5 million a month in sales. I figured that would take years to get to, but like if I could get to that, that's like an interesting thing. Well, I shared it online. In the first week, I got 13,000 visits. We made this really cool quiz where you could like say like how much revenue you have. Do you want this for your business or personal, whatever? And then we would recommend 3 or 4 accountants that you like or that could fit your needs. We had 6,000 people answer the quiz. And we also created this feature where you could schedule a meeting right there on the website with those accountants that we referred you to. Very few people scheduled appointments, and very few people even submitted their information to the accountants.
What's very few?
So we had 6,000 people take the quiz in 1 week, I think we had like 100 or 200 people like submit information to the accountant. But that's not the issue. The issue isn't the user. The issue is accountants are not clamoring for these leads.
Yeah.
Like my big learning was that there's a massive, and this is for someone who can go and solve this problem. There's a massive shortage of accountants. There's not a shortage of people looking for an accountant. There's a huge shortage of people who are becoming accountants. And not only that, the people who are accountants, they don't really want to like grow their business to be that large. And I thought that they'd be dying to get more customers. They're really not, which shocked me. That was like a really big shocker. And when I launched this business, I basically copied, or I didn't copy. Have you ever heard of smartasset.com?
No.
So smartasset.com, I bet you've seen them if you've Googled like what's California's taxes or California tax calculator. Well, the reason why they have all that stuff is they're actually doing, well, I'm doing what they're doing, but they're doing what I'm doing for CFAs, so certified financial planners or advisors. And what they do is you take this quiz and they tell you all, like you answer all these questions about, how old you are, if you're retired, if you're not retired, what you're trying to do with your money. Are you trying to invest it or just live off it, whatever. And then they recommend like 3 or 4 people who might fit your needs. But what I found on that website is if you click around, they have to tell you how much they're paying per person per lead. And so they actually say if a person has between $1 million and $5 million in assets, this advisor is paying $700 per lead. If it's over $5 million, they're paying $250 or it gives you like a range per cost per lead per net worth, and it like tells you all like how they do their business. I thought I could just replicate it. Turns out CPAs aren't like dying for business, and so it's the exact opposite. They're actually overwhelmed with business, and so that's why I don't think this is actually going to make a lot of money.
I think you're wrong. I think there's a need for this. I think that it will do well. I also think you know that, and I think you're...
No, I don't. I'm going to shut it...
I think you're playing us. Just going to put it out there.
No, I'm going to shut it down on May 30th. If I can't figure... No.
I went Trump on you for a second.
That was good. If it doesn't work, if I'm losing money right now on this. If it doesn't start working by May 30th, I'm shutting it down. Like, I'm not going to invest more money on it.
Dog, just give it to me. I'll make this work. This is so easy. You're just being impatient, and it's going to fail because you have a much better business that you're busy with called Hampton, and you should focus on that. That's why this is going to fail, and that's why this is a bad idea. But otherwise, it's a good idea. Let me point out a couple of the product details that I like, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that you should do differently. So we can screen share this. All right. I love when I go to the site and it pops up so I go to the site and it pops up and it basically is like, normally where there's an email pop up, but it's like no email, no BS, no something, like let's go. I was like, okay, already. I think you should just actually call that out a little more and be like, we want to help you. We don't need your email address. And then just have a button that says, thank God. And then, they hit thank God. It takes them down the funnel. I love this part that you did where you read this first and you wrote, I have this many Twitter followers. I asked if they have a CPA account that they love. Then I called all of them. I asked them how much they charge, blah, blah, blah. Why would I do this? Because I'm a nerd and I needed an accountant. I thought, well, how about I make this useful for others? Blah, blah, blah. That's great. I love how you do that. I love how you put everybody's Twitter profile attached to their name. Nice touch. Like your name here, every accountant, you can go see their Twitter, which for our market is actually a good idea. Most people in the world don't use Twitter, but for us, it's cool. You should put the prices on the front thing because I think that's like makes it a lot more value add to the person coming in. It's like, oh, good. These people already went and found what the rates are for these. And you also said, like, I asked them who their sweet spot customer is and blah, blah, blah. Like, what I can't tell is, like, when you go to Cars and Bids and Doug DeMoro has the Doug speech bubble. Yeah. And Doug's like, here's what I think. I think you kind of need to lean into that.
I agree. That's a good idea.
I don't trust reviews. I trust review. And I really just trust you. And so the question is like, can you, not just call them, but call 10 of their clients and be like, tell me everything. And then end up with one speech bubble that's Sam saying, talk to them, talk to their clients. Here's roughly what they charge. And this is people are screaming, endorsing, or they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. And so I think they're solid and they seem to specifically help out this type of customer. I think that would make it better.
I think that's a good idea. The reason why I haven't done that yet is I would have to hire someone to help me call those people. And I was like, I need to figure out, does this thing even make money in the first place in order to justify all this work?
Field of dreams, baby. If you build it, they will come.
Did you see? So a few things. The design, I liked our design. I just ripped it off. We made it look like old Microsoft, and then the image is. I just copied Clippy. You remember Clippy from Microsoft Word? It's Calci.
AI this because it doesn't make any sense.
It's AI, and on the calculator face, it's only 4 digits. It's a 2, it's a 5, it's a 9, and a Q.
Yeah, putting the Q in as the last letter is the AI knows something we don't.
Yeah, and so anyway, I thought I'd fill people in on this. I think it's hard. I don't want to be in the business of selling leads to small accountants and having like hundreds and hundreds of different clients paying me versus I think in order to make this work, what you do is you get someone's information. And then in order to do lead gen, you usually only have a small amount of very large companies who pay you a large sum per month for a certain amount of leads versus one-off. You know what I mean? So I'm still trying to figure this shit out, but we'll see if it works out.
All right. You got anything else or are we done?
No, I'm you did great. That was good. Two bangers.
That's what I tell my wife when I go downstairs. How was the pod? Double banger.
Double banger. All right, that's the pod.
I feel like I can rule the world. I know I could be what I want to. I put my all in it like no days off. On the road, let's travel, never looking back.